There's this great scene towards the end of the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade movie where Indiana comes to the edge of this huge abyss. About 100 feet in the distance, straight across, is the opening in the flat rock face that drops several hundred feet below to the ground, to the bottom of the abyss. There's this opening to a cave that contains the Holy Grail. Indiana is desperately in search of the Grail in order to save his father's life. But standing at the precipice of the other side, if he takes one more step, he will fall to certain death on the jagged rocks below. However, Indiana has his trusty little guidebook with him, and his guidebook tells him that there actually is a bridge across to the other side. It's invisible from where he's standing, but if you're willing, according to the guidebook, to take a leap of faith, you can find the bridge and make your way across. So Indiana, after muttering, sure, a leap of faith, with all the courage he can muster, lifts one foot and begins to transfer his weight forward, knowing full well that there's no going back. If that bridge isn't there, he's going to plummet to his death. But as his weight shifts forward and his foot comes down, he feels solid rock beneath it. The bridge is actually there. And as he takes another step and then another step, the bridge actually comes into view. He can see it. Indiana never would have known that bridge was there unless he was willing to take a leap of faith. Many Christians throughout the ages have claimed to have taken a leap of faith, and to know, they say, as surely as Indiana knew that rock was under his foot, to know that Jesus is real. They've experienced him. Even though they haven't seen him face to face yet, that awaits eternity. They claim they know he's as real as the rock under Indiana's foot. Many of us have had imaginary friends when we were growing up. It was very comforting to have that companionship, to know that you were never alone. But as you grew up, you realized that that imaginary friend was a delusion, a figment of your imagination. How is belief in Jesus any different? How is it not just wishful thinking? Or let's suppose that there is some kind of divine transcendence. How do Christians know that what they're experiencing is Jesus and not some other God like Allah or Nirvana, or just the generic force that is the divinity? Lee Strobel is a graduate of Yale Law School and also worked for many years for the Chicago Tribune newspaper as its legal affairs editor. He's an award-winning journalist. One night, his wife came home and announced to him that she had decided to become a Christian. Strobel, who was an avowed atheist, didn't like this news. He didn't welcome it, and he wanted to go back to their happy life before she made this life-changing decision. So he embarked on this close to 2-year quest to find all the evidence he could amass to prove to her that Christianity was just a mythical delusion. Using his journalistic and investigative skills, he interviewed top scholars and he looked at forensic evidence, archaeological evidence, historical evidence. But at the end of this quest, instead of convincing his wife that it was all a myth, he became convinced that Jesus was the Son of God. At that point, he then took a leap of faith. But I love what he says when he describes his leap of faith. He doesn't talk about it as an act of blind trust, a shot in the dark, wishful thinking. He doesn't talk about it as kind of being overcome with emotion, knowing Jesus is real because you're kind of feeling him or experiencing him viscerally, intuitively. Instead, he talks about it as the rush of reason, the rush of reason. In other words, as he describes, he felt like taking that step of faith meant he was no longer swimming upstream against the torrent of facts and evidence, but he was swimming with the facts and the evidence, that torrent. The facts, the evidence, the arguments, the logic, they led him to the point where he could take the leap of faith, but it wasn't that big of a leap to take because the evidence was so good. Before diving into the actual evidence for Christian faith in future blogs, I just want to make clear how I understand faith. When I use that term, what I mean by that. Everybody has to take a leap of faith to believe in Jesus. It's a personal encounter, ultimately, with a transcendent Lord, an unseen God. So you have to make an act of trust to have that relationship with him. I've taken that leap of faith and have had many powerful experiences of Christ. But the reason I believe it's Jesus and not Allah or Nirvana or a caffeine high or an imaginary delusion of my imagination is because it's based on the best evidence and the best arguments. It's where they lead. Yes, everybody has to take a leap of faith. But when it comes to Jesus, it's not a big leap at all. The evidence basically gets you most of the way there. It's not a big step to faith. It's a small step to faith in Jesus, because that step is the most rational step you can take. Love to hear your thoughts about this blog or any other. You can leave your comments, questions, feedback on the Contact EJ page of this website, or you can go to Raising Jesus, the Raising Jesus Facebook page, and leave your comments there. Thank you.